Hello YouTube. Well, I'm not fishing today, as you can see. I'm out in the woods. But one reason why I'm here today is, as a kid I used to be a Boy Scout, and I learned a lot of things in the Boy Scout that I want to come out here and kind of refresh a little bit. It's nice to get out and do that every now and then, because you never know when you might need those skills. So today I want to show you how to do a little lashing. We're going to set up a tripod. If I've got enough time, we'll try to set up some kind of a lean-to using a tarp and some of the surrounding material we have here in the forest. So kind of come along with me today and we'll do just that. Hello. Today I just want to get out in the woods and kind of go over a refresher course of what I learned way back then, because they say if you don't use this stuff you'll lose it, and I believe that, especially when you get on a little age. So I learned some techniques on how to build a shelter. Hopefully I'll show you how to build a shelter and a tripod today, and we're going to use some techniques called lashing. And it's the way you put poles or sticks together in the wild to make a shelter, or tools that you might need. So basically what I'm going to do now, I'm going to build a little lean-to. And if you can see in the distance here, I've already got a ridge pole. I'm going to stretch across a couple of trees here that I found. Got a semi-level spot. I have a tarp. It's a 5x7 tarp. I bought it Harbor Freight for $2 or $3. I've got these handy little tent, what I'm going to use for tent stakes or stakeout poles, and all they are just an old camera stand, adjustable camera stand that I used to have. I took it apart and made these collapsible poles, and I keep these with me on my backpack along with all these other things you'll see that you can use to make a lean-to. Another thing I like, what I have is these are tarp clips. Now what I've done is, whenever I took these off the stand, I kept these little metal T caps on, and then these come with just a hole as you see. And then what I did, I took a Dremel tool and made a slot there. And what that does is allow me to take this little clip and go over that T and then twist it. And now I've got that secured on. And then I'll take this and clip it to the end of the tarp, you'll see later. And I'll show you more as that goes. Then I've got these little handy night eyes, or what do you want to call them, figure 9s. These are small, miniature. They come with a little rope. These make great guide lines for your tent, for your structure. So we're going to throw that right over here out of the way. I've got 2 of these. I'm going to put this over here out of the way. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to take the camera back, and I'm going to show you how to do the lashing. Alright, you want to start off with, first of all, you want to figure out how high. I like to set this up about head level if I'm sitting on the ground, so right about there. So first thing you do is make a clove hitch. Leave you enough rope to go all the way around. Let me do that again. You start out with, run your rope around the tree. You come here, you make like a crossover. You can do a crossover. Go around the tree with the tag in, come back through under that crossover, and you form a little X right there. Get the loop nice and neat, and you just kind of tie it off. And you can leave that as it is right there. Now this is called lashing. The next thing is you take your ridge pole and we're going to wrap it to this tree and secure it with this technique. Now, what I want to show you is you'll go across, come up from under the rope, go around, come up and over the ridgepole, come around the tree and back over the ridgepole. And now you'll go back under the ridgepole, come around the tree, and back under this ridgepole. Now, and we're going to repeat those steps. And what I want to stress is keep your runs nice and close together. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute when I tie it. All right, let me stop it right there and show you what I mean on the back side. You want these nice and neat and uniform, and that's what makes the strength of this particular technique. The reason for that is just imagine that rope is your fingers, okay? Now, if that rope was spread out like your fingers and you went to grasp something, you're not going to have enough gripping strength in your fingers, all right? You're going to lose that. But if you keep your fingers close together and uniform, as you grip something, you're going to have a lot more power as opposed to this, all right? So that same philosophy is by keeping your wrap tight and close together. Okay, so we come back around the tree, over the top, underneath, and go back around the tree one more time. One more time over the top and back around, over the ridgepole, under. Now at this point, I think we've got enough lashing that's going to hold pretty good. Now we're going to secure it by coming in over and coming in between the ridgepole and the tree and make a couple of loops and pull it tight. There, that'll hold that. That'll stand up to wind, snow, or whatever you've got. And then you just tie it off. And just use a little square knot. That's in there, okay? I've already done that side as I mentioned. So the next thing is we're going to stretch the tarp. We're going to stretch the tarp over the ridgepole, and I'll lay it out and I'll get back to you, and then I'll show you how to set up the tarp using the two stakeout poles, and I'll be right back with you. Get my tarp, pull it over to the point where, as I drape this over the ridgepole, I've got a loop, a ring here. I'm going to pull it back to this first ring, and I'm going to let this much, or this amount, drape over, and that'll give me a little front porch. Kind of like a little rain fly. Same thing on this end. I'm going to stretch it out there as good as possible. Now if you wanted to, probably would be best to tie this off with some rope perhaps. But for the sake of time, I'm going to just go ahead and stake down the back of the tarp as with that. Sorry. I'm just going to stake down the back of the tarp with these aluminum stakes that I have. There. The ground is hard. Now let's go around the front. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Okay. Now, the way these work, I'm going to clip them to the corner piece or the corner edge of my tarp and then just tighten them down. See, it makes it nice. You don't have to tie off any ropes or anything like that. And this is what I like about the these adjustable poles these old camera stands is I can adjust them. Now I've already run my guide wire through here and tied it off at the top. And the way these operate, you just take, all you got to do is run this through this little oval opening like so, pull off your desired length, and now you just kind of form a bite and just make an overhand knot, running the little nine eyes or whatever you want to call it mechanism back through the loop. Now the next step, all right, I've got my stake in the ground. Now I'm going around the stake and I'm going to cinch this off. Bring my stake out a little bit. I'm going to run it around my stake, come back and loop it around the little 9 eyes and pull it nice and tight, and then run it around, and you put the rope in that little V notch. It's got teeth and it will hold it for you. And what I like about this guide wire or guide rope is it glows in the dark, so you don't trip over it at night. All right, that's all you got to do. Now let me set the other end up, and then I'll give you a different view of the shelter. Okay. As you can see, makes for a great little out of the weather, either for shade or snow or rain, whatever. Gives you a place to get out of the elements for a few minutes or an hour or even overnight. Better get some water in me. I'm hot and thirsty. So now I'm going to sit and rest a minute. Okay, I'm going to show you the next technique I was talking about earlier. In this lashing technique or method is going to be used to make a tripod. I went ahead and took the liberty and found 3 poles I cut down just to save time. And what you want to look for, or what you're looking for, is 3 poles in the same, close to the same diameter and the same length. Once I've got my poles, I like to take the center pole and rotate it in an opposite direction. Now since this pole is a little longer, I'm going to pull it to where it's the same length now from here to here as the other pole I've already cut. And this one's already the same length anyway. So, and what you'll need to do this is just say about 12 feet of rope, and anything excess of that, I'll show you what we'll use it for. So to begin with, let me bring you up closer where you can see. What we'll start out with is a bundle of rope. The first thing we'll do is a clove hitch, just like we used on the tree when I tied the ridge pole. You go around your pole, let it cross, pinch it with your thumb and your forefinger, your index finger, and pull it back through until you've got this nice little cross. Cinch it off and just tie a little granny knot in it. That's all you got to do for that. Now, to start with, you want to take the rope and run under the center pole and then over and around the outer pole. Come back over the center and under the first pole. Just like on the tree, the other lashing, keep your wraps nice and neat. Let's repeat that. Over and under. Over and under. Kind of keep them a little snug as you're going. Don't have to be overly tight. They don't have to be so tight that you can't get your rope in through each run. And so basically all you're doing is making a figure 8 in and around these 3 poles. If you looked at it from this angle, it would be nothing but a figure 8. So since we come over this pole, we go to the center one and go under. Under the last pole. Let's do it one more time. Come back over. Now what I like to do, I think that's plenty. You're not going to be standing on this or use it for any type of support structure. We're just going to hang a pot from it. Now, tie this off. I'm going to go under this one, and then we're going to make a couple of loops around this inside connection between the middle pole and the outer pole. We're going to go around it a couple of times. And then we're going to cinch it, okay? Pull it tight. This will prevent it from slipping or the pole twisting out on you. Okay? Now we're going to go over, come back under. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to go around and in between the center pole. Sorry. Come around and go in between the outer pole and the center pole. A couple of times. Let's cinch that. All right, keep all your loops nice and uniform. Go back under, come back over to the tag end, and let's tie it off with a square knot. Okay, now I'll show you what to do with this spare piece here in a second for the tag. All right, now let me show you how to set it up. All you got to do is lift up in the middle and kind of twist and push and twist each leg to form the tripod. It's that simple. Clear out your spot. Now, one thing I want to make note here is that these, the length of these determines the diameter of your fire. If you're going to make a huge campfire, you want to make these longer, because you can always make a longer and you can adjust them by letting out the legs to get whatever closer to the fire. So just keep that in mind. The height is going to be dictated to the circumference or the diameter of your fire pit. Now, I told you we're going to use this part. This is what we're going to hang our pot on. But instead of tying a rope to the pot, because it's going to melt, I'm going to make this handy little gadget. It's going to be a little pot holder. So, bear with me for a second. What I'm looking for, let me show you something. You got one right here. You got a, let's see. We've got this straight piece. We have this straight piece here, and then we got a branch that goes off, makes a V here. Well, all I need is from here to here, and I need this little notch. I'll show you why. Okay, we don't need all this trash, all these branches we don't need, and we only need just a little tip of this. And that's it. This is going to be our pot hanger. This is going to separate my rope from the hot kettle that I use. All right. Now the next thing I got to do is notch here to where I can tie my rope around so it don't fall out. The worst thing you can do, get it all set up and have your food in your kettle or water or whatever you're cooking, and it fall off into the fire and ruin it. So let me show you how to do this. Take my trusty Mora and a I'm going to just take my knife and put it 45 degrees here and just kind of whack it a little bit just to get a good groove. I'm going to turn it the opposite 45 and do it again. I don't know if you can see that, but I made a small X. I made a small X with the blade, and now I'm going to just whittle that away. Whittle away the bottom part of that X. To where now I'll have a notch. Just a small indentation, don't need much, just a small indentation to where I can tie the rope around. Okay? See this? And now come up here and make a few wraps. And tie that off with the excess rope I have. Okay, now if I need to, I can adjust the rope, and we're just going to take the excess and wrap it around the top. Get it out of the way so it don't catch fire. Okay, now I'll have something to hang my pot on. I'll show you. Okay, I got this neat little Stanley. All right, I have this little Stanley cup, and I'm going to put the handle like that. But now typically what I would do, probably come in here and put a wire around here. Since this don't have some kind of handle on it, I've got wire in my backpack. I'll wrap it around here and then hang it to that. Now we've got two methods of adjusting the rope, or we can adjust the legs to get our kettle close to the fire. Okay, and that's it. It's that simple. I hope you've enjoyed the video on how to make the tripod and how to make you a shelter using a technique called lashing. It's very handy. If you're limited on supplies or you don't want to carry a whole lot out into the woods, you can make do with about anything you've got out there. If you didn't have the tarp, you can do the ridgepole and just lay branches and leaves up on the back. That'll give you a lean-to, enough to get out of the weather. So I'm going to fix something to eat, and once I get that cooking, I'll be back with you and we'll enjoy a meal together. See you in just a few minutes. Today we're going to have some Mountain House rice and chicken. So I've got my handy little MSR pocket rocket. Turn it on. Alright, I've already got my water measured out in my Stanley cup. Gently set that on. Alright, we'll give that about 8 minutes. Maybe not even that long. And getting my meal ready. Like I said, it's rice and chicken by Mountain House. I've had these before. They're delicious. Very delicious. Expensive, but delicious. Don't forget to remove the dry packet out. You don't want to be eating that stuff. Okay, I'm going to zip it right now until the water boils. So while that's cooking, I just want to express over and over again about getting out and doing this type of stuff. If you've done this in the past, it never hurts to get out and kind of refresh your memory about all the things that you've learned, because you never know what might happen. You never know when you might be driving and you veer off the road, or some kind of accident and you're stranded, your car breaks down or whatever. But always practice these different methods in surviving. It's handy to have with you at all times. It's something once you retain, it's not like a book you lay it down and forget it. But if you've done it and practice these techniques, you'll always have them with you. Keep yourself a toolkit in your car. It doesn't hurt to keep a pocket knife or a real good hunting knife, or like this Mora knife, something like this, cheap, 20 bucks for a wonderful knife. Keep something like that with you. Some method to make a fire, a lighter, a striker, some sort of cooking utensil. Always be prepared in case something happens. So anyway, let's see how this is doing. All right, looks like water is boiling. Gently pour it into the bag. Ooh, I think I got some leaves. I have to stir it up just a little bit. I may have got too much water. That's okay, I like soup. All you do is add water, sit back and let it steep. Let that cool down. Just let me take a minute now to go over what we did. You learned how to make a tripod. You learned how to set up a temporary shelter. You learned a lashing technique, a method of attaching one or two or more poles. You learned how to set up the ridge pole, use lashing technique on that. Again, this is something I learned as a kid in Boy Scouts. I haven't used this in a while, so I thought to myself, I need to, because you don't know the turn of events that could happen in a blink of an eye. You could be stranded, your car break down, out on a road, and no one there to come and get you, no cell phone service. And with the way the world is today, my goodness, do you know how to live without power? Do you know how to go out and gather wood, a source of fuel for your fire to keep yourself warm, or food or water? You need to practice this type of technique in case something happens. You know, when this world shuts down, it's only you that can save yourself. You can't depend upon the government. God, we've seen that in all these disasters. They leave the people high and dry. So go out and practice this technique, and if you don't get it right, do it over and over, and try to keep it up. While the weather's pretty, go out at least once a month and practice. Even when it's cold, go out and practice building fire in the cold weather and see if you can keep yourself warm. What I like about this type of shelter, you set it up, and if you carried some plastic ground cloth with you, you could make a super shelter. But that's enough rambling. I think I'm going to have my rice and chicken. Oh yeah, she's getting done. Delicious. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you've learned something. So get out there and practice it. Don't make me come after you. Until the next time, maybe we'll be on the pond. But until then, I'll see you in the forest. Have a good day.